Good to go. It's recording.
All right, thank you. And thank you for everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Tammy Bartlett. I'm Vice President of Government Affairs for Student Veterans of America. And we're going to have a session here about Washington Week 101. So this year, our Washington Week will be March 5th through the 7th up here in Washington, D.C. There we go. And tonight's agenda, we'll go over a little bit of the scheduling, how to schedule a meeting, your experience, and things to know and do here in Washington, D.C. So we already have a list of events that we've posted up on your registration form. And if you hadn't already done so or still a little curious to what they are, I'll give a quick explanation of them as we go along here. And then if you decide to attend one of these, please go back and do so on your registration form. That way we have an idea of a head count for our events. So Tuesday and Thursday are those Inform the Hill meetings. It's that time for you to engage with your members of Congress and have some meetings with either the member or the staff themselves. Tuesday, we are holding a higher education symposium with our friends from the American Legion at their space. I'm going to have some talks about student veteran research being done from our friends at RAND with Dr. Kinch here at SVA, along with a panel on financial literacy, things like that, also engaging with our higher institution advocate friends. Wednesday is pretty much our busiest day. We have a joint hearing with Jared, where he'll be testifying before the Senate and the House Veteran Affairs Committee. And then shortly after that, we'll take a short walk for lunch and chapter networking time at the VFW space, which is just about a block and a half from where the testimony will be up on the Hill. And then the evening, we have an evening with our veteran advocates. We'll be engaging with AMVETS. They have a reception up on Capitol Hill that we'll be stopping by and connecting with them. Then on Thursday, we have open house here at SVA headquarters. Calvin will be giving his famous tours during the morning, but we'll have some coffee and some small breakfast items for you guys to come by and just engage with us here in the office. We will be moving to a new office come this summer, so it might be the last time you get to see the old lay of the land here in DC. And last but not least, the reception that we have on March 7th. So that is SVA's reception, where we invite our DC friends to come and engage with those student veterans, advisors, and allies who came to Washington, DC. We have some awards to give out to some of our members of Congress and some of our friends who work on within the agencies. And it's really a great time. Location right now is to be determined. We're trying to work something out with some of the Smithsonian museums, so that would be pretty cool to have it at one of those areas. Also, in the registration, if you're from out of town and interested in taking a White House tour, we do have that option this year. Again, it's first come, first serve, so it depends how quickly those slots fill up, but we do have them for Tuesday and Thursday. Again, you can find all that in your registration form. So you're coming to Washington, D.C., and that Tuesday, Thursday, like I mentioned, you want to schedule some appointments with the members on Capitol Hill or maybe one of their staffers. So what to do? How do I start this process? Well, first of all, you need to find who represents you here. And the best way to do that is to go on congress.gov/members/find your member. And there you can plug in your email, your zip code, or your address, and it will give you your representative and your 2 members of the Senate. Then once you have those names and individuals figured out, you can go on the Senate or the House website and find their office email or their office phone number. So you're going to want to send off a request via email, introduce who you are, maybe your address, so that shows you that you're a constituent, what school you go to, any issues you wish to discuss, and the dates and times you want to meet. So if you are coming in on Tuesday, but maybe coming in Tuesday late, maybe trying to set up a meeting for Thursday, keep in mind not to try to have back-to-back Senate and House meetings, because it is a long walk between those 2 sides of the Hill. And having to go through security again, or if you're able to go through the tunnel, is going to eat up some time. So you definitely want to make sure that you do not have those Senate and House meetings back to back. I highly recommend using maybe one day for Senate meetings and then the other day for your House meeting to ensure that you have plenty of time to get there early enough and engage, and then set yourself up for some time afterwards. So you sent off your email. So what's next? Well, maybe you didn't hear from them right away, or you just got a very generalized email back, but feel free to engage with them again. Maybe follow up with a phone call. They're often very receptive. If you can't get a hold of them one way, it might be best to get a hold of the office another way. And please do recognize that the staff there may be that you're meeting with a staff member or a virtual meeting. And I highly advise, if you do end up engaging where the staff member says, hey, can we do a virtual meeting? If you want, and I would recommend maybe holding those virtual meetings for after your time here at Washington Week, maybe when you're back home. You definitely want to try to maximize your time while you're here for those in-person meetings. You don't want to have to take a virtual meeting from your hotel room when you could take that virtual meeting back home in your Veterans Center with your big university logos in the back, right? So you have that meeting scheduled and you have the date and the time. But before you even get to that meeting, you want to, at the earliest convenience that week, confirm your meeting date and time and location. And then on the date of the appointment, arrive early. Like I mentioned, security, we are not the only Veterans Service organization going to be on the Hill that week, and not the only organization too. I know a lot of our higher education institution advocacy friends are also going to have their Hill days that day. So security line may be long, so just be prepared. Try to keep your bag size to a minimum. There's some do's and don'ts there of what not to bring. Just think of it as like TSA at the ID, a notebook and a pen, and then after your meeting on the Hill, follow it up with a thank you note. Maybe it's a phone call or an email. It's always appreciated. So the appointment, you've made the appointment, you reached out to them early in the week, everything's good, you made your way through security, you're there early, go to the front or the member. Make sure you have that point of contact ready to go. Introduce yourself. So I'm going to pause there for a second. My advice for you is to practice this. Practice, practice, practice. Practice with your friends. Practice with your other student veterans that are going up to Washington Week. Come up with a game plan. If there's a group of you, maybe share the issues. Maybe one person will talk about this issue, another one will talk about that, but make sure you got your game plan all ready to go. That way, when you're up there, you're clear, concise, you got things moving. This is a very engaging kind of meeting. Just prepare yourself for attending these meetings. It can be a little nerve-wracking. I still get a little nervous sitting in the room with these individuals sometimes, but they're just people like yourself. You're their constituents. They're there to give you time because they represent you in Congress. So again, what do you even say? Well, I like for y'all to share your story. You want this to be memorable. You want to introduce yourself of who you are. Are you a veteran, a military connected student, family member, caregiver, ally, advisor? What branch of service did you serve, or that your family member might have served in, the institution you attend, your degree you're pursuing, and then you can share the issue or the message you want to relay. Also let them know what you and your chapter do in your community and on campus. Do you guys hold mental health and suicide prevention walks? Do you engage with other chapters of other organizations throughout your campus? They want to hear what you got going on back home that they might not be aware that's going on. Feel free to become familiar with SVA's policy priorities that are up on our website. We have a 2023-2024 there. This is a unique time up on Capitol Hill. We didn't get much passed this past year because of some budget issues, but we're holding on to a big omnibus bill that we're being told might hit the House floor by the end of March. So with that, there are a lot of bills in there that have been marked up this past year that SVA has had the opportunity to testify on. So feel free to become familiar with issues and our testimony that we've had over this past year, things like online MHA, institution fraud restoration, the Edith Norris Rogers Scholarship expansion. Sorry, that was a tongue twister. But things like that, because they may relate to issues and barriers that you might face yourself. And the member that you're sitting in front of or the staff member may not be a part of the committees, the Veteran Affairs committees that see and are working on this omnibus package right now. So bringing up portions of the omnibus package is just bring awareness. So when they are seeing it at the end of March and the beginning of April through the House and the Senate, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. I had some student veterans sitting in my office in March who were talking about just this issue. Like I said, best to come with a game plan. I often have a little notepad with a little bullet points for myself. It's just a way for me to ensure that I'm hitting all my talking points. And then answer any questions or tell them if you have any follow-up or requested information. And then share your leave behind and thank them again for their time. Their leave behind that you have is SVA's policy priorities. And like I mentioned, if you don't feel comfortable talking about the policy priorities, feel free to reach out to me, but still, we just want you to go up there on the Hill and share your story and engage with those members of Congress. This is your time to do that. The rest of the year, it's my time to come back up there with the policy priorities and ensure that we get work done. So now you're in the process of packing. What to wear. So casual, I highly recommend that for like your chapter time and your sightseeing. Business casual, pretty much for the SVA open house, but not the receptions. When you're on the Hill, the joint committees and the receptions, I highly recommend a business professional attire. One other tidbit is footwear. Consider proper, well-fitted footwear, something that you will be taking a lot of steps in. I personally wear black Skechers. They are my footwear choice. I'm not a high heel girl. So consider that as you're packing yourself, getting ready to come here up to Washington. And while you're here, share your experience. You see all our social media handles there and our hashtags. We'd love to see what you guys are doing because we're like over 100 have signed up. There's so many becoming already this year, and we are not going to be able to keep engaging one-on-one while this is all going on, but we can see your social media posts, and Cameron is always sharing that far and wide, even further on SVA's channels. Oh, I figured it went too much. So you registered to attend Washington Week. You started making some phone calls and emails with your members of Congress. Now you're working on logistics. So where to stay? Well, there's some amazing accommodations in and around DC. But like I mentioned before, there are many other organizations that are going to be here in Washington, DC for their Washington Week. And many of them have planned up to a year ahead of time. So you want to make sure that you secure accommodations closer to downtown and Capitol Hill. Many of our activities are going to be between downtown and Capitol Hill. But if you find yourself staying further away, please be familiar with the modes of transportation here in the district. So DC has Metro Line and Metro Bus, taxis, ride shares, rental cars, parking. Parking, I will say, on Capitol Hill can be a little difficult. So if you're heading up to Capitol Hill for meetings, I highly recommend either a mode of public transportation or a taxi or ride share. Walking and wheeling, DC has bikes that you can go ahead and rent out, and scooters. Just be safe while you're on them. But yeah, different ways to get around town. And we hope we know we're keeping you busy, but we hope that you have time to see the city. From Capitol Hill, the Library of Congress, the Supreme Court, like I mentioned, the White House tours earlier, Capitol Hill tours. Those you'll want to go ahead and make arrangements beforehand and ensure that you get tickets for. Then you have the National Mall that's fairly close by with all these different Smithsonian museums and then also the different memorials. My favorite is the World War II Memorial. So get out and see the city while you're here too. See, you can see the Black Sketchers. So here's my contact information. Again, I want to thank you all for coming on to the webinar, and I'll take any questions or comments the chat may have. Mackenzie.
The chat does not have any questions so far. So if anybody has any questions.
Yep. Okay. Cassie, Mackenzie, do you all want to add anything?
Yeah, so like Tammy had mentioned, definitely plan out your day by day time here. Plan it out, make sure you know what you have going on. If you go on our website, everything is on there so you can go through. Bring a notepad for all of the notes that you're going to exchange with other members that are going to be there. There's a lot of information on how you can take this back to your chapter.
Cassie?
No additional comments except for thanks so much for this overview, Tammy. It's super helpful.
You're welcome. All right, well, if no one has any questions or comments, see you in a month. Oh my goodness, right around the corner.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. By the way, my name is Adam Roberts. I'm the president over here at UNC.
Great to see Adam. Thanks.
I'm Drake Freeberg. I'm the PAVE leader here at UNC.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you both for attending today.
Thank you.
All right. I think we can stop recording.